In this video, we are pulling out the LS from my 350Z drift car so we can tear this thing apart and figure out exactly what went wrong, and I can come up with a game plan on how we're gonna fix it. It's pouring rain outside, but we're gonna get this motor out right now. The engine's out. I've managed to mostly stay dry. Let's get this in a bit safer spot and get me out of the rain, and then we can start taking a better look at some of this stuff. So, what does a full season of Pro-Am drifting do to an engine like this? Well, let's dive in and find out. I'm gonna start with the passenger side because if you remember the last video at the track day, that's the side that was making the most noise. It's the side that I suspect a lifter failed or something like that. So let's get this torn apart and see if there's any damage we can see. If you've never worked on an LS before, it's crazy how simple these engines are. Start by pulling the valve cover off, which is just 4 bolts. Under the valve cover, we have our rockers, and we'll crack these loose. These are factory rockers. I just did a trunnion upgrade, so nothing too special. And we inspected all this at the track, and it all looked fine. There was no play in any of them. They were all tight. Nothing's broken, so I suspect the problem is lower than just these. With our rockers out of the way, we can pull the push rods out. Again, these were something I inspected at the track. None of them looked bent or excessively worn. These are just stock LS push rods, nothing fancy. Before we could pull the head off, got to pull our coolant crossover hose out. This is a factory one, and it looks pretty gross, so glad we pulled that out. Now the fun part of actually pulling the head off, so I'm gonna get a big breaker bar and start cracking these head bolts loose. All right, now that we got all the head bolts off, should be able to yank this head off and see what's lying underneath. Head looks all right. Don't see anything too alarming there. Again, if you're new to LS's, the way these work is those push rods go down through the heads and to the lifters, which ride on the cam. And these little plastic trays, these are what hold the lifters in place. But you can see they're like square. So this shape here is what holds the lifter in place. And sometimes the lifter can spin. And if it spins, then the lifter's not riding on the cam the way it's supposed to, because there's a little like roller wheel. You'll see when I pull it out. So my thought was either a lifter failed or spun, but it wasn't because the tray failed. This still looks good. Here's that roller wheel I was talking about. So it should sit in there like this, and the cam is rolling on this wheel. If it rotates, then the cam obviously isn't spinning on the wheel, just hitting it. But it was in the right position. I will say this looks pretty worn out for an engine that's only seen, I don't know, 15 or 20 laps in its life. Let's keep digging. Same story here. Scoring on the sides. Decent amount of wear on the little wheel. But I mean, there's plenty of oil and they're spinning. I don't exactly know how to spot a failed lifter unless it's like, obviously, catastrophic. If you look closely in there, you can see those are the 2 holes we pulled those lifters out of, and if you look past that, you'll see that's the cam and that's a lifter on the other side of the engine sitting on that cam lobe. Something over here. So everything looks okay. I don't see any catastrophic failures. Well, this is where we're ending off tonight. Got the other head off, the lifters, and everything looked fine. It's pretty much the same story as the first side. So the next step is getting that front cover off so we can pull the cam out and inspect that, and then flipping this thing over and taking a look at the bottom end. Because if it's not something related to the cam, lifters, whatever, we may have a rod bearing on its way out. Based off some of the glitter I saw in the oil, could have been either one. So we'll dive into that tomorrow because I need to go rent the right tool to pull that crank pulley off. I forgot I didn't have one. And it's really late, so see you guys in the morning. Okay, here's the setup. Crank pulley removal tool from AutoZone. Wrench on that, obviously, but when I turn it, it turns the engine because there's no heads on. So I've got a breaker bar running through the engine stand and a bolt into the back of the crank where the flywheel would go. And as you turn the wrench, it kind of locks this in place on the dowel pin and the engine stand, and it stops it from spinning. And I've been slowly inching this crank pulley off. The hard part is I'm doing it with the factory crank bolt still in there. That way this tool has something to rest on, because I don't want it just going into the crank, obviously. But it means I can only move the crank pulley a little bit, back it off, and then I unthread this a little bit. Keep just doing it a little at a time, but it's working. I'm sure there's a better tool for this than this AutoZone rental, but again, if it gets the job done, it's okay. And we're off. With the crank pulley off, now we can pull the front cover off, which will give us access to the timing chain and eventually the cam. So here's a good look at the LS with the front cover off. Obviously you have our cam gear and then our oil pump, which is crank driven. And behind that is a little sprocket that drives the cam gear. Our chain guides here, these are just little plastic guides that kind of keep the chain where they're at. They still look good, so they didn't break or anything weird, which I didn't suspect because there was no noise from the front of the engine, but it's at least good to see that everything here has held up well. But let's keep digging, see if we can get this cam out, because I'm curious to see if the cam bearings are what failed or if it's something in the bottom end. So you can't remove the oil pump while the oil pan's on because the oil pickup goes into the pan and obviously it connects to the oil pump. But I was able to just kind of pull it off the engine far enough to get the timing chain off that bottom gear, which gave me access to pull the cam gear off. Now we get this retaining plate out of the way and we can slide the cam off, and then we'll flip this thing over and take a look at the bottom end. All right, should be good to yank this cam out now. There we go. So taking a look here, it does look like the cam bearings were maybe on their way out, but they hadn't failed completely. Like there's a little bit of scoring there, a little bit there. This one seems to be a little bit worse. So I don't think any of the bearings had failed completely, but that's kind of a lot of wear for what was a brand new cam. If we shine a light in the engine, you can see that theory is definitely proven. This is the first cam bearing. One, like, I don't know what's happening there, but really that bearing is worn down a lot. And then if we look into the second bearing, definitely doesn't look good. And it's pretty much the same story as you go back further. All right, let's see how much of a mess we make flipping this thing over. A little bit of water. Oh, there's the oil. That's a lot more than I was expecting. Let's chill that out a little bit. That's okay. All right, all the bolts are off for this pan, so let's get this thing off and see if we can see anything bad. Doesn't look like it. Can't see anything because of the windage tray, but there's no bad looking metal in the oil pan. There's definitely some shavings in here. By that I just mean there's like, the oil is kind of shimmering, not a great sign, but there's no chunks. Well, haven't found anything majorly wrong with the bottom end, at least looking at it, right? The bottom of the pistons all look fine, the cylinder walls look fine, everything turns over fine. So I'm gonna crack the connecting rod caps off the back two cylinders. This is where the noise was the most, so I'm curious, maybe a bearing failed and I was hearing the start of rod knock. So let's pull these off and see. So cylinder 8 here actually looks okay. I mean, there's marks in it, but nothing crazy. It's not like worn down to the copper or anything, and I can't feel any of that, so that's good. This one is more worn, but it's not failed. There's a bigger groove in there, you can see, but again, it hasn't like worn down to the copper. Well, I ended up just pulling all the pistons out of the block, and none of the bearings look like they failed, but looking at pistons 7 and 8, underneath the bearing on the actual rod here, it looks like there's kind of an excessive amount of wear. Again, I don't really know what normal wear looks like. I'm not an engine building expert or anything like that, but it seems like kind of a lot. This is rod number 8, and under the bearing you can see it just kind of is, I don't know, maybe that's normal, maybe it's not. Cylinder 7 looks about the same, maybe even a little worse. But clearly nothing has catastrophically failed. And again, maybe I heard the noise and caught it in time and shut it down before anything got to that point. But I was expecting to find something that was worn out more than everything else. And it seems like everything's just worn out. Not quite the answer I was looking for, but I guess it means that we still have a good base to build off of, and we'll still be okay using the crank and the block and all that stuff, which is good. We just don't have an answer to what that noise was. And if we look here at the crank, really there's no scoring. All of it looks good. I can't feel anything weird. And if we look in the cylinders, everything looks okay. Again, no excessive wear, nothing weird. So where do we go from here? Well, even though we didn't find any specific catastrophic failure, there was definitely quite a few of worn out things. Those cam bearings were probably at the very end of their life, so it's a good thing we stopped when we did. But from here, I'm going to take this motor to someone who has way more experience and way more knowledge than I do, so we can actually come up with a plan to build this motor properly, have a forged bottom end, and end up with a product that's going to put out a lot more power, be a lot safer at a higher power level, and ultimately just be able to handle more. Because if we're going to take 2026 off in terms of Pro-Am drifting, we might as well make it worth it and put in the time to make sure we have a solid and competitive car for the 2027 season. No matter what direction we go in, the 400-ish horsepower this thing was making before is not going to be enough to cut it if I actually want to get my license at any point in the future. So it's time to step things up, build this thing for some serious power, and whether we go turbo, supercharger, a bunch of nitrous, all I know is it's time to turn things up and start making some steps so we can prepare for a truly competitive season next year. If you guys have some ideas on what I should do with this 6-liter, let me know down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I hope you guys liked the more technical deep dive I did with the teardown, even if we didn't find anything specific. But let me know. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we are going to do some cool stuff with not only this engine and this car, but some other builds coming soon this year. And until then, I'll see you in the next one.